Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at I Am Stan, the free comic book day edition of a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, the new offering from Tom Scioli. Tom has already done the Jack Kirby biography, and so that is what we are looking at today is the Stan Lee one. This is just an excerpt from the bigger graphic novel coming soon. So subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. I'm pretty familiar with Tom Scioli, but haven't really read much of his stuff, if anything. And the Kirby thing looked interesting. So when the I Am Stan came out, I thought, oh, this would be a good opportunity. Super annoyed that the comic book store didn't have any copies for me of the free comic book one, but luckily I scored one on eBay for a relatively low price. Apparently they're going for pretty hot on eBay. And I have to say it's really good. You know, the Kirby one looked interesting to me, and I'm kind of now I'm like more inspired to want to read it after reading this. I haven't really read a lot from Tom Scioli, and I thought this would be a good jumping on point. It's a graphic retelling, and it's done so well. It is really good. It draws me in immediately. I think that, you know, Stanley is definitely, and now I'm so curious to read to the Jack Kirby one, of course. But you know, this is an excerpt talking about the heyday of Marvel Comics, like the lightning in the bottle when things were firing on all pistons. You know, the introduction of Thor and Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and the Hulk, and you know, the relationship between Kirby, the development of the controversial Marvel method. And it's so interesting because I think that there's a lot of subtext and a lot of great subtlety going on. You know, Stanley is sort of this controversial figure. You know, he's looked at as this great creator of Marvel Comics, but then it's also kind of looked like that he sort of stole the limelight from the artist and the credit. But I mean, I'm a fan of Stanley. You know, I get it. I'm an artist. I'm all for artists' right, and I do think that he didn't handle everything perfectly. But then again, I mean, you have to look at it. He's at a point where he's in his 40s. He doesn't have a lot going on. He's had some like failed publishing efforts, and you know, he's sort of like trying to do whatever he can to make something out of nothing. And by hook or by crook, he freaking did it. You know what I mean? He he did. This would never happen again. You know what I mean? Just like to be able to sort of create this mass volume of things in this sort of almost factory way, where you're just like giving different artists different ideas, letting them create the comic books, and then coming back in and filling in the dialogue. And you know, I guess they get into like why Wally Wood quit, and it was basically over a credit thing. Like, you know, he can't sit there and draw a whole comic without a script and not get credited as the writer, and rightfully so. You know what I mean? You know, there's a lot of debate, but there's a lot of evolution. There's pros and cons, goods and bads. You know, these comics would not exist without a lot of that unfair system, but obviously Stan could have handled it better. Um, you know, I think this paints him. I think it's realistic in a lot of ways because I think it's sort of, in a way, how I feel. You know, it paints him as a very likable person. You know, to me, he's a hero. You know, when you're a kid reading Marvel Comics, like Stanley is, you know, the creator of Marvel Comics, you know, in so many ways. So to find out that there's, chinks in someone's armor is not surprising, you know, but I don't know. I think it's fair. I'm definitely like, and it's very done very well. You know what I mean? I think it shows sort of like the plight of the artist, but it kind of shows what Stan was trying to get at. And I mean, it does show a little bit of his ruthlessness, but I don't know. But it does also show him as a likable person, too. And I think it definitely is a fair assessment of kind of where he is. I really like the simplicity of Tom Scioli's art, and the magnitude of his storytelling. Like, it really hit me emotionally a lot, even though this is just an excerpt. I think just the impact of what was being said and what was not being said just really came through, and I really commend him as an auteur, and I really, 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 really want to seek out some more stuff from him. I'm very excited about the release of this whole graphic novel, and I'm on board for that. So I can't wait to get into it. Was there, it's like, what, is there anything else that I'm missing? I mean, factually speaking, it's very interesting. It kind of shows different, and just the excerpt is the perfect way to end. It talks about John Romita, who sadly we lost this week. Another comic book legend gone from, oh my gosh, who's left? I mean, hold on tight to the ones we have left. I'm gonna wrap John Byrne in bubble tape. But anyway, it shows that shows the bad relationship between Steve Ditko, the crumbled relationship with Wally Wood. Wally Wood left Daredevil, and Romita had to take over. Romita was like Stan Lee's like hero and like savior in a lot of ways. Ditko left Spider-Man, and Romita did not, he didn't even want to pencil comics, let alone take over Spider-Man from Ditko. He thought the fans would kill him, and, as it turned out, it was probably the best thing he could have ever done. I mean, Spider-Man is legendary, largely in part because of the aesthetic that Romita brought to it, and, that Peter Parker, he designed Mary Jane. This ends with the introduction of Mary Jane, and I mean, what a pivotal moment in comics. Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. I mean, people, kind of know that, even if you don't really know comics in a lot of ways. Like, it's that much in the zeitgeist of pop culture. It was exciting for me to see, and I don't know how, these look very close. I don't know if they're like traces but what kind of manipulations they are, but they just are really dead on, and they sort of really evoke that nostalgia when you see them like represented here, and you kind of imagining like the excitement of this stuff happening and how it happened. Like, Stan, the gray doesn't look so good, make change it to green next issue, and just like simple little things like that, but it's like they mean a lot to a longtime comic book fan like myself. You know what I mean? I think that's the great thing about a book like this, is that, to the casual person, like, I don't know, like, or maybe to a newer comic book fan, I think especially somebody who might be interested in the history of comics would definitely enjoy this. But for somebody who sort of knows just from reading comics for decades, some of the things that are not necessarily being said outright, like Easter eggs, right? It's fun. Like, there's a lot of Easter eggs here. And just this, you know what I mean? Like, sort of Steve Ditko pitching, as Doctor Strange to Stanley, and I don't know, like the magic and the excitement. This, of course, would make a great film, but I love that it's in comic book form, because it's a comic book documentary biography about comic books, and it's just so much fun. Daredevil, and just like the fan clubs, and just like all kinds of great things, and it shows like Stan's dedication. How can you write in a blackout? What else am I gonna do? Comics never stops. Is that Stan? I don't know. I guess I don't know. But it's also so interesting that they were late in life. I mean, Jack Kirby was 44 when the first issue of Fantastic Four came out. So, kind of crazy, right? I mean, so good. I cannot wait for the rest of this to come out. On sale September 12th, 2023. Can't come soon enough. So definitely put this on your list at your pull list at the comic book store. It is so good, so worth checking out. If you come across this before then, definitely read it. It's so good. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. I'll bring you more later.